Hey y'all, welcome to Shea Butter Books. Today we're going to talk about Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Alright, so let's get into about the author. Who is she? Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is from Nigeria, and she splits her time between Nigeria and America here. She's incredibly smart. I'm blanking on where she went to school, but she went to school at like multiple places, has multiple degrees. She's written quite a few pieces of work: Half of Yellow Sun, Purple Hibiscus. She's an award-winning author for Americanah, and I don't believe it's just for Americanah, but she did win the National Book Critic Award for Americanah. It was also a national bestseller. Americanah also came out in 2013, which kind of seems crazy because I still feel like this is a book that's very much trending. I see it a lot on social media, and I feel like it's just a part of a conversation that people are having. And I like to think that one of her most famous pieces, or one of the main reasons that she's most famous, is from her TED Talk, We Should All Be Feminists. And there's also a essay collection, We Should All Be Feminists. So this is pretty much compiled from her TED Talk. It's pretty easy read. It's basically a toilet read. Like, this is like 50 pages, and it's pretty big writing there. So I think it's pretty interesting. I read it. I found it pretty intriguing. I don't want to steer off from Americanah. We could talk about feminism another day, but toilet read, super easy. Woo! So if you're interested in the other works, I would recommend We Should All Be Feminists as well, checking out her TED Talk. And one fun fact is that she was in Beyonce's Flawless video. She wasn't like dancing in the video. Her voice was in the video, where she's talking about how we teach women to be X, Y, and Z. So really the expectations of women versus men in our society, and that was pretty much featured in Beyonce's song. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I didn't know who it was, but I was like, that's kind of cool. So Americanah is a story that's about race, identity, and culture in a nutshell. And it really, it's not a linear story, so it could be hard for some people if you're not a person that that enjoys like reading like different types of stories that kind of come together. Then this may not be the best book for you in terms of like if you want X, Y, X to equal Y to equal Z, or whatever it may be. But so this story in particular is about two main characters, Ifemelu, who both from Nigeria, so Ifemelu and Obenze. They're young and they're in love in Nigeria, and it just really goes into how they go into different paths. So Obenze is young, quiet, thoughtful. They've been together since probably secondary school, and they then go to university together. And then once the military or something's happening in Nigeria where they keep having protesting and that sort of thing, like the teachers keep protesting, so then that disrupts their schooling. So Ifemelu is able to go to America, and once she arrives in America, she then realizes that she's Black. So, which is really weird to think about. I guess being in America and being American, but if you think about it, like in Nigeria, there's no racial construct. Really, it's just there may be a classist construct, but there's not a racist culture in the sense of because everyone's Black. So once she gets here, she's dealing with being an immigrant, and then also realizing that she's Black for the first time, and what does that mean to be Black in America? So that's something that I'm really looking forward to diving into a little bit later, just identity, adapting to different cultures, and how much of that do we have to do in order to be like not lose ourselves, right? So then you have her coming to America, and then Obenze is planning to join her later. But in the post 9/11 world, being a black man in Nigeria, yeah, America's like, nah, bruh, you not coming over here to the States. We only want certain people, and that's real. I mean, I think that I think we do that. We definitely discriminate against like who we want to come in our country, based off of what they may have done, based off of how much money they make, and so forth. Because later in the story, when Obenze becomes the big man in Nigeria, we then find out that it's easy for him to just come on over to Atlanta and so forth. All right, so let's dive into Americanah and a little bit more about one of the themes, identity. So identity really covers the spectrums, covers race, it covers culture, and like I mentioned earlier, Ifemelo coming to the States and then realizing that she is black for the first time, like in America, she's black. So what she does is she then creates a blog called Race Teenth, and it's a viewpoint from the non-American black. So the blog adds a lot more depth to the novel because that's the one piece that's in first person narration. So that is a piece that's directly coming from Ifemelo. I mean, in the blogger world, they don't know who she is and she's not mentioning anyone's names, but that is her direct perspective about the observations of race and what it means to experience it and observe it in America. So it's that outsider view in from America. And the novel is written in third person, so an all-knowing narration. So with that is we are walking with Ifemelu through her different experiences of seeing cultural appropriation, of having to code switch, straightening her hair because straight is best when being professional at a job interview, because the only curly that may be acceptable is the Lucy wave, not so much the kinky curl. So we see these things, but I think that those things are easily admissible if you're just kind of moseying on through the prose. So when it's in your face, when that blog is like in your face and it's very much unapologetic, it really kind of makes you see things from like the character's perspective. It's almost like Ifemelu kind of like really got a voice when she had these blogs. So I appreciate the blogs. I think they were pretty funny. For instance, she has one that says, "To my fellow non-American blacks, in America, you are black, baby." And then she then goes into, "Dear non-American black, when you make the choice to come to America, you become black. Stop arguing, stop saying I'm Jamaican or I'm Ghanaian. America doesn't care." I mean, because you black. Like, you come here, you black. So what if you weren't black in your country? You're in America now. So, and I think that's really interesting because I think that, for immigrants coming into the States, another thing that she had mentioned is that they may like your food or what you may bring in that aspect, but when it comes to like learning your name, they prefer it to be like a Cody or a Chelsea. They don't want to have to go through trying to figure out how to pronounce your name. And it's just like, dang, that's sad, but that's kind of true because I have what some people may feel like is a difficult name. My full name is Nashe, and a lot of times, if you just read it, I get Nash, Nashi, everything. It blows my mind. I tell my mom, like, why did you do this? And she's like, well, you could be named Beatrice or this or that. But even with my name, I bring that up to say, even with my name, I then have to shorten it because I've also experienced that too, and my name's 2 syllables and not that difficult. But yeah, so I think it's really cool, and from an identity perspective, her viewpoint of America and just having that direct viewpoint there in terms of the character. I think that was pretty clever of Adichie to have that blog in there to really give her a heightened voice to talk about race. So, and to really be able to layer in different topics in terms of each story that she may create having a different theme. So that was pretty interesting. And then in terms of identity as well, so I mentioned code switching, and then you also have cultural assimilation where Ifemelu's at the African hair store, African hairdresser, and she's getting her hair braided, and then everyone's chit-chatting or whatever. And that was interesting to see, like, there are different African, like, stereotypes, and because they were talking about watching Nollywood films and what people in Nigeria may be known for and so forth. And then you have someone in, like, talking about the fact of, like, oh, how long have you been here? And Ifemelu was like, oh, I've been here 13 years. And they're like, oh, you still have your accent? She's like, yep. And so she decided not to get rid of her accent or to try and talk more American or really kind of like adapt in that sense as a way of being accepted. And I think it's because at one point, one pivotal point where she was on the phone with a telemarketer and they thought that she was just American, and she just didn't like that feeling. She really knew how to kind of mimic and pronounce those different words, and once she saw herself doing that and changing the shape of like her identity and who she was, she decided not to try and pursue or sound like an American. And I think that's pretty cool of her. It was pretty dope to just kind of hold on to that sense of self and her identity. And then, so I could probably talk to you about identity in this book and the theme of identity until I was like blue in the face. But the last thing I want to leave you with, because I would like you to keep coming to support me on this channel in this journey, is the title of the book, Americanah, and what does that really mean? So we see her journey through America as a Nigerian immigrant, and then we'll see a bit too in terms of her going to Nigeria after a long time, and what does it mean to come back home, and how she's treated, how she's accepted, the customs that she may have been used to in America versus Nigeria. And then how does she adapt to that? Because remember, like, in terms of identity, a correlation with that is also adapting to different things. So if Ifemelu is adapting along the way to American customs, how, in order to fit in order to get a job, and then she's going back to Nigeria and kind of doing the reverse in a way. So again, I could talk to you about it till I'm blue in the face. But leaving it there, that's what it means to me in terms of Americanah. It's just her journey through America and then kind of going full circle in Nigeria. And you also see a little bit of Obense and how he kind of deals with identity in a little bit of a different way. He has a bit of experience too in terms of race and who he is, and trying to find out who he is in London while he's an undocumented immigrant there, and then when he goes back to Nigeria, so how it kind of comes full circle. So that is Americanah. I guess the last thing would be like, okay, do you recommend this? You probably do. Yeah, I definitely recommend this book, and it's a long book. I am admittedly a slow reader, which is I don't know how I'm doing this with y'all if I'm a slow reader, but I am. And I would say listen to the audiobook. I think it helps bring the book to life, to just read along. I recommend it because I just think it's very thought-provoking. It made me look at things from a different perspective. It pointed out things that I may not have thought about. I found myself chuckling a lot throughout the book. But in the end, it's just very thought-provoking, and it's eye-opening to see how we identify ourselves with so many different cultures. So Africans and how they may identify with each other, and how they view each other, how people in England view people in America, how I think she had the most interesting perspective coming to America and actually now she's Black, because she's coming to our country and we have this racial construct. So fitting in with that, I just thought that was really interesting, especially when people are asking her like things from a Black perspective, and she's like, I don't have that same Black perspective as like homeboy over here that grew up in Philly. So I found it really interesting. I would not recommend it for anyone that's not open-minded, that is not willing to kind of like take in these different in your face viewpoints. In some cases, it could be in very much unapologetic and in your face about race, cultural assimilation, cultural appropriation, how we really kind of adapt and then identify with ourselves. So if you do decide to read it, then what a pleasure you have ahead of you. Thank you for joining me at Shea Butter Books, and I hope to see you next time. Take care, everyone.